Hello and good morning. This is the Cream of Stream podcast. We've got a very special guest today. Wow, guest, yes. It is early. We got a special guest today by the name of Runningman. He's a fantastic dude. He's one of my good homies on Twitch. I'm sure he's one of your good homies too, because he's pretty much befriends everyone. He is a killer main on Dead by Daylight. He does all kinds of other things like shoutcasting, and he's just started to YouTube, I think about 6 months ago. And he's putting some very good content on there. Make sure to check that out. Just a reminder, all of our notifications are shut off right now. We will not hear anything. I appreciate the follows. I appreciate the alerts. I appreciate everything. But we are not having any distractions. I appreciate you guys. And I hope you enjoy the podcast. Here he is, Runningman. This beautiful guy. Get on in here.
Good morning. Hello.
Good morning. How you doing, buddy?
Thank you for having me on. I like that you said that I'm friends with everyone. You're actually kind of casting me as somebody who's a bit of a hooer.
I don't think that makes you a hooer, does it? I mean,
no, definitely not. No. I think what you're really attesting to is that I'm a pretty easy to love guy. Like, I love people. I love to be loved by people. I enjoy humans. I enjoy interaction. That's the big reason why I got on Twitch and why I do what I do. I enjoy people very much, and I like to make friends before enemies, and I like to, I don't know. I just like people a lot, and I like games. What I tell people is that I like video games, but I love people, and that's why I like to stream. So,
yeah, dude. Which, that's one of the things I really liked about your community is that you want to get to know everyone. Anyone that comes through and says, "Hey, what's up?" You're like, you're there for it. You're like, "Hey, dude, how are you doing?" And then
absolutely,
you're always constantly present in Discord and on Twitter and everything else. So if anybody follows you, you kind of go lurk on them and see what's going on in their life.
Facts. Yeah. Engagement is my brand, and people they really hate the word brand when it comes to streaming, because there's that whole illusion that streaming's you're not a brand and you're not making money and all this stuff. And so the thing is, when engagement is your brand, as long as it's a natural and organic thing, which is literally who I am as a person, like I couldn't not have the brand that I have. When I first broke into streaming, we'll probably talk a lot more about the subject, but when I first broke into streaming, I did experiment with stuff like, characters, Dr. Disrespect style characters, where I'm like, ooh, I'm going to be this guy who's this way. And I would try it on stream, and it always came off as forced and inorganic because that's not who I am. And eventually I landed on, well, your normal personality is pretty good for streaming. Maybe just try doing that. And so then, being engaged, caring what's up in people's lives, sharing the intimate details of my life with people became my brand, which is weirdly enough, literally who I am as a person. So it worked out pretty well for me.
Yeah, I dig that about you. And you've watched a podcast before, and you've actually been a supporter of everyone in your community too that also streams and everything. And you popping in and you say hi to everybody. If you get a second, you pop into somebody's stream and you'll either lurk or be like, "Hey, dude, yeah, I'm here. I just wanted to check you out." And I dig that. I think that's really cool.
Yes, sir. As much time. I wish I had more time in the day. If I could figure out how to not sleep, because right now I usually land like 5 to 6 hours of sleep at night. I stream 8 hours a day, and you already mentioned before in the intro, but I have a lot of side projects. I shoutcast full time for Vigos. I'm actually a co-owner of Vigos Court, the esports league. So not only am I shoutcasting anytime they're live, but I'm also in business meetings, and I'm also working with my partners over there to try and build that league up and make that into something special. I consistently am working with my mod team to do stuff like you talked about, the YouTube, which is sort of on a hiatus right now. But the YouTube channel is something that's going to be a focus moving forward with social media. I'm constantly active in my Discord. I'm constantly active in other people's Discords, other people's communities. It's just, when you really want to make content your career, when you really want to make this, like, it's a passion project, but like when it takes on that main role as your purpose, like, it's a 24-hour a day, 7 days a week kind of job. And then again, my name Runningman isn't just a name. I actually run outside as a train, I'm in the process now of training for a half marathon, while also juggling all these business projects. And to top it all off, I do have a girlfriend and 3 kids. So I have a lot going on, but if I had more time in the day, I'd spend way more time in other channels. I love it. I adore it. And actually we literally just launched, I've had a stream team for a while, but we literally just launched the next phase of the stream team. We are taking applications, we're adding people, we're building that as well. So anyways, if you could loan me 4 or 5 extra hours a day, Queso, I would love that. If you could just pop me 4 hours a day and we can make it a 28-hour day, I would really love that.
Well, I am going back to midnights, so like my sleep schedule is going to dwindle again. It seems like whenever I'm on days, I kind of do a little bit better, but whenever I go to midnights, trying to juggle a full time wife, full time job, and then trying to stream and everything else, I kind of get pretty tired. I get about 4 or 5 hours, kind of like you, and it gets pretty rough. But
So you're telling me you have a full time wife, not just a part time wife?
I got a full time wife. That's what I tell everybody. So
I love it, man. Yeah, it's not just a part-time gig, bro. This is all the time.
Which I was super happy when you announced that you were going to shoutcast with Vigo's Court, and I've been over there and I've watched quite a bit, and I do think that's something special, and I'm super happy for you that they did ask you to do that and that you are continuing to do that, and you've been wanting to shoutcast forever, and you said that you do Fall Guys tournaments too.
Yeah, I actually literally today, the reason why this podcast is so goddamn early is because after this, I'm rolling over and I'm shoutcasting the semifinals of the Beam Brawl tournament, which is a $2,000 Fall Guys tournament. It's literally the biggest money tournament in the Fall Guys esports scene. So pretty excited about that too. I'm gonna, like I said, I'm spending some time with you, buddy, and then I'm gonna get about an hour in between for a buffer, and then I'm gonna spend about 5.5 hours talking about beans falling off into the void. So I'm pretty excited about all that. It's fun. It's a good time. It's actually where I broke into shoutcasting, was with Fall Guys. Interestingly enough, even though I'm a horror streamer and a DBD main, my first real go with competitive shoutcasting was the Beam Brawl tournament. Lekka K, she runs it over there, and she just took a chance on me and let me try it out. And I definitely stumbled out of the gate, but picked it up pretty quick, I think. And now I'm a regular staple over there of day 2.
Which I honestly liked watching you play Fall Guys too. You'd always switch, and obviously there's people that wanted to watch DBD, so they would dip out. But I'm like, I actually enjoy watching you play Fall Guys. I thought that was a fun game. It seemed like a good time, and you were still engaging with everybody, so I always enjoyed it.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
No problem. So we are going to start in the beginning. Where did you grow up? Where was your childhood?
I was born in Washington, Washington State, Tacoma, Washington, which is crazy. I was born now I live in Spanaway, Washington. I was born like 10, 15 minutes from where I'm sitting right now. My little head popped out 10, 15 minutes away. But I was born in Washington. And then at 3 weeks old, when I was deemed safe to travel, because I had some issues when I was born. I was not a Hollywood in and out kind of a baby. I had issues. I was umbilical cord wrapped around. I came out underweight and all this stuff. So, but no, once I was deemed safe to travel 3 weeks later, my folks moved to Alaska, and I was in Alaska ever since. So I tell people I was born and raised in Alaska, and technically I was born in Washington and went to Alaska 3 weeks later. But that story takes a lot longer to tell people than I was born and raised there. So I just go with the born and raised one. But yeah, so I was raised in Alaska. We ended up initially in Cordova, Alaska. My dad was a grocery guy. He was a grocery manager at that point. So he took over a store in Cordova. I was there for about 5 years. At the age of 5, he took a job in a place called Wrangell, Alaska. It's a little fishing logging village it's the Southeast Alaska. It's the little, if you look at the state of Alaska, it's a big mass, and then like a chain that comes down, and then down across the chain there's another like straight line strip, and that's called the panhandle. Hold it, and then there's the, you know what I mean? I can show you a visual. We don't have time. It's a podcast. I lived in the panhandle, so we were about 6 hours by boat from the state capital of Juneau, and that's where I spent the bulk of my life down there. I was in Wrangell. I grew up there, high school. I left. I went to college for a couple of years up in Anchorage, which is like in South Central Alaska. And then I ended up back in Wrangell. So I was in Wrangell till about 22 years old. And at that point, I joined the military to get out of Alaska. So I joined the Navy. And then that was when I relocated to Washington. I spent a good chunk of my adult life here in Washington serving in the military. Once I was out of the military, I went back to Alaska, back to my hometown. Was there till about 2013 when I came back to Washington, and I've been here ever since. So basically I've just bounced between Alaska and Washington. I'm bad at doing math, if you haven't, already gleaned that from the stream, but I feel like I'm closing in on being close. I mean, I think once I hit my 40s, I'll have spent as much time in Washington as I did in Alaska before I came down here. But I did 22. Yeah, I did 22 in Washington. I guess and then we can tack on a couple extras. So I think once I'm about 45 or 46 or somewhere in that range, I'll have split my time evenly throughout my life. So there you go.
That's
There's a
like two.
little
That's like 2 full years.
right. It's at least 2 years, man. Yeah. So that's a short version. I think. Did I miss anything? Did I leave anything out? Any
No,
details that
I'm,
you're
I
missing?
mean, you probably did, but it's not like I would know if you did.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's just a quick hitter. So I grew up in Alaska, learned a lot from growing up in Alaska. I feel like it's helped me just in terms of, when you're on Twitch, like people are looking for things that are unique. And I'm not like, this isn't a flex, but I just think that I've got like a weird and unique perspective on life because like I was a nerd growing up in the least nerdy place in the United States. Like I literally grew up like hunting and fishing and camping and like surviving in the wild. Like I tell people all the time, I'm a nerd and people like see that I play video games for a living and that I'm into all these like, Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons and stuff. But then like if there was a zombie apocalypse, like I'm a guy you want to be friends with because I literally know how to like survive in the wild. Like I tell my girlfriend all the time, like if the world starts to go to shit and we're ending and everything's crashing, like we're just gonna go hop a boat. I literally have all the faith in the world that I could take a boat from just go steal a boat in the state of Washington and make it to my hometown without any like maps or any like hard if I had all I need is a compass and I'm going to get us to my hometown. And if I get us to my hometown, that place is going to be barricaded, stockaded. And I'm like, I'm family there. Like I'm literally going to be able to like walk up to the gate, the grizzled dude with a gun, like waiting to see if people are coming. And they'll be like, it's Doug, get in here, brother. We got stores for your family. Like I'm sure of it. So I don't know. It's pretty cool just to have like kind of this eclectic upbringing. Like I know enough to get by in like technology and enough about games and stuff, but then I also have like this like other side of me that knows how to like field dress a deer, and like keep myself like build a fire with nothing in the woods. So
Yeah, so what you're telling me is that we're all coming to Washington and then we're all going to ride a boat to
yeah,
Alaska.
yeah. We'll just
The whole
steal
Twitch
we'll just
community.
steal one of the Alaska Marine Line ferries and just take a whole community of BFC up there and just hope that they've got enough salted meat in the stores to keep us all alive.
That's super cool though. I mean that honestly sounds like a really good thing though that you know all of these things and that you can do all these things and plus you probably learned a lot of basic skills that a lot of people don't know like even tying knots, and
Oh yeah.
how to clean animals and everything else.
Mhm.
So I mean that sounds like you'd be a good person to have around for sure.
Yeah, I enjoy that sort of stuff. I just enjoy that sort of stuff, and it's getting out. I mean, I'm getting excited. It's getting into spring, summertime, and so now the kids and I are going to start going fishing, and we're start doing some camping and doing some getting out and doing things. And I think it's important, like in this day and age, we're so like digitally plugged in, and like we spend so much time staring at screens, so much time on games. And I'm not preaching to anybody because I love it. It's like I'm the kind of guy I literally stream for 48 hours straight. Like I can handle my blue light coming out of the monitor. Don't get me wrong, but I do think it's important that we like remain connected like to the outside world as well. And so like getting some of that legitimate vitamin D. I mean, you know, you look at the entire. This is going to get. Okay, so I'm sorry. I'm going to apologize in advance. I go off on tangents, but it's like I can't help it. This is what's in my head, and I have to say it. So you look at like the
Literally
entire.
everybody in here knows.
Okay. Yeah, it's true. I guess anybody who knows who I am, I guess if somebody's experiencing me for the first time, they don't know, but like anybody who knows me knows. But so the humans have been around for what, millions of years, right? We've been evolving for millions of years. And like, when did we start like staring at screens? When did blue light and smartphones and shit? It's like, what is that? Like in the bucket of human history, it's this little tiny drop, right? And like, we don't know what it does to us to like spend all this time staring at screens and spend all this time getting our information from websites and like, so I just think it's really healthy for us to like have a balance there. And like, I mean, supplements literally should be like a last resort, I feel like. And then instead, like they're our primary way of like keeping ourselves from being unhealthy. Like when you need to take a vitamin D supplement because you don't spend enough time outside, like that seems to be like potentially a failure in our part, right? Like get some real sun. You let the sun hit your face once a day. Like get out and walk, exercise, get some fresh air. Like it's just healthy.
Yeah, which there's a lot of things that we do that are unhealthy. I mean, and our phones, like I literally would be lost without my phone because it's my alarm clock, and sometimes the maps and everything else GPS. Like if I were to actually try to read a road map, you know how messed up I'd be.
Right? Yeah, give
And
me a month. Give me a month with no phone, and I'd be like the most useless person. I would have
yeah, for
no clue
sure.
what I was doing. I literally made fun of a friend of mine recently because they were sending me DM showing me pictures of like watches they were gonna buy, and I'm like, why the fudge would you buy a watch, man? Like everybody, like there's clocks everywhere, and I have a cell phone. Like I don't need that thing hanging off my wrist, dude. Like
Yeah, I
my
quit wearing a
phone's
watch when I moved to Hawaii.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
But so you went to high school, and you went to high school in Alaska, or was that in
Yeah,
Washington?
yeah. I went to Wrangell High School, WHS, home of the Wolves, boys. And my high school literally had 60 people in it. My graduating class had like 16 people in, I think, roughly, maybe 20. I don't remember. Off the top of my head, it was no less than 16, no more than like 24 in my graduating class. Like it was a very small place, and I excelled specifically because I'm really good at winging it, as I think you're aware. And so I was never a guy who like did a lot of studying, did a lot of like preparing, which is why I excelled in things like English, social studies, history, things where I could get by on like being a good communicator and absorbing information and regurgitating it. But in stuff like math and science, where I had to like actually learn things, like learn proofs and learn formulas and like be able to apply them, I was very, very limited in my success. So, yeah, there was two sides to that coin, but I enjoyed high school a lot. I came out of my shell. So I was very much the nerd that I am today growing up, playing video games, playing I was literally playing Magic the Gathering since fourth edition. Like I was hanging out with all the nerdy kids playing cards. And then, I hit high school pretty much like a nerd outcast type my freshman and sophomore year, and sometime my sophomore year, like I broke out of the whole nerd thing. I hit my what's the word? Hard to explain, but I went from like being part of like the outcast to like actually kind of fitting in with the more cool crowd because like I had used my wit and like I was always like a chubby nerd kid, right? But like I also had a pretty fast wit and I was funny. And so I kind of endeared myself to some of the more jockey types. And then I got to be I got to be like the mouth, so to speak, of the upper class of the high school. What do they call it? Ecosystem or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. So I ended up breaking out and then I got into sports because my friends were doing sports. And so then, yeah, I actually had a really, really good high school experience. I was really a lot like I am today. Like I was doing a million things. So I did sports. I did everything. I was in wrestling. I was involved. I tried to be involved with basketball, but I would always end up quitting because I was bad at it. And it was not. So I ended up going from like basketball to cheerleading because I could be like a male stuntman. And so I did basketball slash cheerleading. I did wrestling. I did drama, debate, and forensics. I did I played Magic the Gathering with my friends. We started a backyard wrestling federation, which was a pretty cool thing. I was in a couple of bands. So I did all these things, right? I was constantly like keeping myself engaged and finding new ways to like have fun and do interesting things and make friends and travel. I love to travel. And since you're in an island in Southeast Alaska, it's not like in these bigger schools in the lower 48, which is where you're on basketball, you just jump on a bus and head a couple of towns over, head a couple of, even a state over. We had to like get on ferries and take like 6, 8, and 12-hour boat rides to get to other towns to play sports and to do drama and to do debate and stuff like that. So I have so many cool memories of just like riding a ferry with my friends, and my best friend played guitar and I sang, and we would just like hang out on the ferry and just jam out for hours and hours with like a bunch of friends. It's good stuff, good memories.
Yeah, I dig that a lot. And you said you had a backyard wrestling federation?
I did. Yeah. Yeah. I was a
Well,
two-time champ in Matt's backyard wrestling.
you're just two-time champ at everything.
I
That's
really,
fantastic.
I feel like, yes, I was the franchise was my name. And I was definitely a heel. I definitely cut the best promos. Do not even consider adding me on that. I was the number one mic guy in the Fed. Easy. My most iconic match was with a luchador named Menudo Vazquez. And we had quite the hardcore match. So MBW was a trampoline it was a trampoline wrestling fed, and then we had the whole hardcore rules all the time. So there was no disqualifications for outside object for foreign objects and whatnot. And so We did great. We even at one point we did a pay-per-view, and somehow this is what a backyard carny town I lived in. We literally got like access to one of the gyms at the high school to hold a pay-per-view for a backyard wrestling fed. That happened in the 90s, dude. Like we were able to get the school to sign off on a bunch of kids, a bunch of high schoolers holding a wrestling federation pay-per-view in a high school gym with a crowd and like entrances and stuff. Like it was wild, man. Nowadays, are you kidding me? The paperwork, the lawsuits that would come from that.
So what was your promo voice like? Could you just keep it like your usual voice, or did
I just put a little gravel in it. It was the same as me. The franchise, you know, I'd be like, I am the number one in MBW. No one can step to me. Like I just, and if now imagine like a pre-pubescent, early post-pubescent Running Man, like trying to put some gravel in his voice and cutting a wrestling promo. We have videos. Like honestly, you know, we're friends, so we stay in touch, right? So you and I we'll probably talk about this more later, but I can most likely get you some cuts of like when I was actually in MBW and like some of the pay-per-views, some of the promos that we cut and stuff like that. And we like used my car sometimes to like do moves on and off of, and like we just this is really good. It was fun times, man. Nobody got any serious injuries though, and like we did this for years and not a single serious injury. The closest thing we had to a disaster was these two guys. Their name I don't remember what the one guy's name was. Steve. His name is Steve Purvis was his real name, but I don't remember what his wrestling name was. He might have just gone as Steve. He was very uncreative, but he was just like one of those guys that he didn't have a character, he didn't have any promo skills, but he just like was down to do whatever. And so him and another guy that was named Gump had a hardcore match, and they used a fish tank that I had, a plastic fish tank that had broken out the corner. And so Gump threw the fish tank at Steve, and it hit him right above the eye with like the jagged corner and just like split his eyebrow. Like, and so he was juicing everywhere. And so then, of course, like your traditional thing you would do if somebody busted open their forehead in the middle of a kid's wrestling fed was to like call the match off. And no, they just held the match. And so this dude just like Austin style blood just coming down like, oh, he's like 15 years old. I don't give a fuck, dude. Let's go. And they're just like, they're going hard. So that was like the worst injury that anybody had, was like this forehead split from, or an eyebrow split from a little fish tank. But otherwise, like people stayed pretty safe. We didn't have any broken bones or probably no concussions. So it was a good time. I'd go back. I'd run it back right now. Honestly, I don't care. 37 years old, I'd still do it. I'd go challenge for the title right now. If they're still active, I'd still probably be the active champion if I'm being honest. But
yeah, I could probably see that.
Yep.
I mean, I could definitely see you being the face of the federation, if you will. The franchise, though. Why did you go with the franchise?
It was just a blatant ripoff of the franchise Shane Douglas. But I was just like, because my name's Doug, Shane Douglas. I was like, well, I'm Shane Doug. I'd just be the franchise. So we had the franchise. We had a guy named Horse Dog 316. We had a kid named Rip Studley. We had Menudo Vasquez. We had, who else was in the Fed? I'm trying to think of names. We had Gump, obviously. We had G Fresh. Was my friend Brad, which was a G Fresh was a blatant ripoff of Orgasmo. What other? I'm trying to think of the other competitors in the league. I don't think I'm leaving anybody out. Hopefully they're not watching right now. Like, come on, man. Come on. Remember the flaming tables match we had, dude? Don't forget about me. You know, but yeah, we had a lot of, it was cool though. And it was a way for us to like, you know, people will laugh, and you know, my girlfriend, I've told her about it and she makes fun of me about it, but like, it was honestly a way for us to connect and a way for us to do some really cool stuff. Like, and we felt really like, we just felt really cool. And we felt like we were the best kids in the world. And we had like this really tight group of friends, and we like validated each other and built each other up. And like, we just, I don't know, it's just a really, you know, it was more than just a backyard wrestling federation. It was us being creative and being ourselves and like taking a thing we were passionate about, wrestling. So I had my dad had us in a pretty big house by the time I was in high school. Like we lived in a nice like 4-bedroom house with a full basement, and then the basement he finished himself, so it had like carpet, and basically he set up the basement as like a rec room style thing. And then I moved down there in high school, so I had, my room was in the basement, and then we had like the TV and a bunch of couches and stuff. And so like my house was like the hub where like all the friends would come over to and hang out. And so like every Sunday there was a pay-per-view. And back then, this is the 90s, the mid late 90s, like back when wrestling was fucking king, dude. So like WWE, WWF at the time, and WCW were like both fully active and battling each other. Like the Attitude Era was in full swing, and I was a WCW guy because I've always been like that guy who goes against the grain. So I was big on WCW, but we watched all the pay-per-views. We literally would have get-togethers for WWF, WCW, ECW, you name it. We had all the friends would come over. My dad would grill us up a bunch of dogs or a bunch of burgers, and we'd hang out and watch the shows. And so wrestling was a way for us to all be connected and like be friends. And so the natural offshoot of that was for us to like start our own backyard league so we could like also do the things that we were watching our heroes do. So, and then the really cool thing was that while I'm in high school and while we're doing all these things, like the technology age is emerging, right? And so we have like a class in high school called multimedia, and we're literally rocking those old IMAX, like the colored. You remember the IMAX, like the clear ones, like they're blue and red and pink and stuff. I forget. I mean, I think it was called. They were called IMAX, right? Like, am I correct? Do you remember this? Or you're probably too young.
I feel like it, but like obviously that would have been really young for me. So
Right.
I don't know. I'd be kind of hazy on that.
Wow, imagine flexing that you're not a senior citizen, bro. That's weird. So, so in the 90s, we had like, this is when the internet was just becoming a thing. Like nobody understood what the internet was yet. Like I was involved with the internet when the internet was still like had a countable, rememberable amount of a number of websites. Like they were like, oh, there's 21 websites now. Oh, there's 25 websites now. Like there was nothing out there. AOL was in full swing. It was just a brand new world for us, right? And so our high school had a whole mess of IMAX, and we had a computer teacher named Danny Frazier. And Danny Frazier was one of the coolest people in the entire world. Like he just like loved our passion and our excitement. And so we had multimedia class, and what that class was supposed to be was like learning how to use computers, learning how to video edit. And so we used iMovie to like cut a bunch of videos for MBW for our wrestling fed. So like we made all these, we literally had like a bunch of videos. Like Beyond the Tramp was like our magnum opus, so to speak, of like, it was this video where like we did like an introduction to the federation and like kind of bios of all the wrestlers. Then we had like matches and stuff on there. And like my buddy still has the Beyond the Tramp like VHS cassette tape. Like he literally still has it right now. Like we had a watch party for it a few years ago, and we all watched ourselves be high schoolers doing wrestling. But it was really cool, man. Really cool to be. And then I did this thing called tape trading, which is you would like record videos on VHS, and then there was websites. Like there was like 4 total websites that did it. But you would go out and they had like lists of their wrestling tapes that they had, and then you send them your list, and you'd work out ones you wanted to trade. And we would literally snail mail each other cassette tapes of pro wrestling pay-per-view. It was just the honor system. And so I'd send you like Royal Rumble 95, and you'd send me like ECW Living Dangerously 97. Like we trade them, and you just like have a collection of cassette tapes with wrestling pay-per-views on them.
That was interesting.
That was my childhood, man.
So what got you into gaming?
Oh, I was a gamer since like I was, man. So I've been all over the place, but back in Cordova, Alaska, when I was 5 years old, my dad, he was at that point, like I said, just managing a grocery store. He bought a Nintendo Entertainment System. And I mean, the details are fuzzy because that was when I was 5, but like he came home with this thing and was super excited about it. And so, of course, I'm a 5-year-old, and it's my dad, my favorite person. So I'm excited about it. So he gets me all gassed up, and he sets up this Nintendo Entertainment System, and we're playing Mario, and we're playing Duck Hunt, and we're connecting, and hanging out. And that was like my first taste of gaming. Like, this is the best thing ever. This is the best thing I've ever done. Like, I'm literally shooting ducks on my TV, and so I don't have to go outside, and I'm with my dad, and my dad's like telling me, "Great job, kid." And I'm just like, I'm having a blast. So like, that's where I first got the taste. And then basically I don't really recall outside of that, like that being my first like infection with the gaming virus. Right. But like from there, I was just a gamer for life. Like we had the Nintendo Entertainment System. I was constantly playing Nintendo. I mean, I did a lot of outside stuff, but then really when I got the Super Nintendo, and my dad, we moved to Wrangell. My dad was working for a guy named Bryant Benjamin. Bryant bought us, my sister and I, a Super Nintendo for Christmas. And that's my first like conscious thought of like, this is where I became like obsessed. And I was constantly playing. So Super Nintendo is probably like my formative, like early childhood gaming system. I mean, I was Final Fantasy 2, Final Fantasy 3, like literally any iconic Super Nintendo game you can think of, I played. From that point, I was like, when I did chores, I would save my money up, and I got a Super Nintendo, I got a Sega Genesis, I got a Sega CD, 32X. I got any console that like happened during my childhood, I saved up and bought. And then the Nintendo 64 was the first console that I remember saving up hardcore for and buying with my own money, and like it just being like my entire life was like the N64, like gaming on that thing, Diddy Kong Racing and GoldenEye with my friends. And yeah, so I just can't remember a time in my life where gaming wasn't a passion, which is weird because like I've always been such a like dive into my passions person, but like I never really like tried to make it a career. When I first went to college in 2001, I went to college in Anchorage. My initial um, major was going to be computer science, with the hopes of like getting into working in the gaming industry, coding and eventually coding games. And then I dropped that my first semester when I realized how much math there was in it and just how I was not naturally attuned. And again, like the person I am now, I feel like I could go to college now in my late 30s and like handle the math. I could do it now. I could learn it because like I have a different mindset. But like back then I was very much a person who rejected anything that didn't come naturally to me, and math never came naturally to me. So I rejected it and avoided it. So math, like coding was never going to be a career for me then because I would have had to learn too much math and that would have taken effort. And I was not a big effort person at that point. So nah, it wasn't happening.
So how did you get into streaming?
Oh, well, I joined the military, and I was in the military for 6 years, and the military 6.5 years. The military, I spent that time gaming. I gamed underway, like on the ship. I would always have like a handheld, or we had some pretty cool times in the military too. Like we had when I was my last deployment I was on the USS John C. Stennis. It was an aircraft carrier based out of Bremerton, Washington, and we were basically doing 6 months off the coast of Afghanistan, launching jets into the Operation Enduring Freedom. Operation OEF is what they call Operation Enduring Freedom. So this would be in 2011, 2010, 2011 timeframe. My buddies I was in administration, and we had like a huge department, right? My department alone had like hundreds of people in it. But I met this dude named Jordan Queen, and Jordan was a huge sports fan, a huge gaming fan. And so we started a league, an NBA Jam Tournament Edition league, where we literally had 32 people that were in the league, or however many. I don't remember how many teams. I think it was 32. I don't remember anymore, top of my head. But we had every single team had an owner, and we all like actually played out an entire basketball season as the teams. Like, so I was the Seattle Supersonics, and like Jordan was the Denver Nuggets, and like everybody had a team, and we literally had like a schedule, and we played out an entire season, including a championship of NBA Jam. It was the fucking coolest thing, dude. So we'd have it was just like having an esports league. Like we would have people like scheduled for matches. So like we are scheduled for games, and so we had like free time, and we'd be like, okay, so we're gonna knock these games out during this time, and like yeah. So gaming again like has always been a part of my life, right? So I gamed. I got out in 2011. Around the time I got out of the Navy was when I first discovered Twitch. So maybe like 2012 or so, 2012, 2011, 2012, I discovered that Twitch was a thing. And I discovered it because of World of Warcraft, which I was a big World of Warcraft player, like since the moment it came out. And I was passionate about arenas and battlegrounds. And so I found Twitch because I wanted to go watch people that were better than me play. I don't remember exactly. Like I can't even credit the person who taught me what Twitch was. Hold on. Because I remember being really into arenas, and I was, gaming with my friends, and somebody was like, "Yo, have you ever watched Soda Poppin'? Or you ever watched like I don't remember if it was Soda Poppin' was my initial, but somebody it was either Soda Poppin' or one of the other old maybe it was that what was that guy, the warrior guy, the one who was not very good at the game, but people really liked him, and he turned out to be a huge scumbag. He got called out in the Me Too movement, and now I can't. That's probably why I forgot his name. Swifty. You remember Swifty?
No.
Anyways, long story short, somebody told me like, "Hey, these guys are really good at arena. Go check them out." And so I first went to Twitch to watch people play World of Warcraft arenas, and that was when I learned what Twitch was. But it was weird because like I can remember going back there. I never for a moment thought that I could do that. Like watching people on Twitch, I was like, I could never do this. Because back then I had a pretty severe drinking problem. I had some really bad inner like self-hatred and loathing. Like I thought I was kind of a piece of shit, and I thought that there was no way anybody would ever want to watch me do anything because I'm garbage. And you know what I mean? Like I had a really bad personal image of myself. So I watched Twitch and enjoyed it for like kind of like if you watch, you watch movies or TV and you think like, oh, I could never actually be an actor. It was one of those sort of things. I could never actually be a streamer. So I watched a lot of Twitch. I enjoyed a lot of Twitch. And so once I found Twitch, it was always a part of my life. So whatever game I was into at the moment, I would like transition to Twitch to watch people play that game. And so I loved it. And so back then I had like sort of this identity crisis, and I had started going by my middle name while I was in the middle. So while I was in the military, I started going by my middle name. Like instead of Doug, I went by my middle name. And I did that because I was always trying to like reinvent myself, because again, it comes down to like mental health and like not feeling like I had a lot of self-worth. So always trying to like be somebody else to like be good enough for people, if that makes sense. So, my whole branding back then, branding online, like my gamer tags and stuff, were all based around my middle name. And so sometime around 2014 is when I rebranded to Running Man. And that was because I went back to Wrangell, my hometown, after I got out of the military, realized that I had a drinking problem, got into counseling, realized that I had more problems than just drinking too. Like I had problems like with me, inner problems. So I got into counseling, went vegan, started running marathons, dropped myself. Like right now, as I sit here, I'm 240 pounds. And back then I ended at like 168 pounds and running marathons. And at that point, running was such a huge part of my life and was saving me from addiction that I rebranded myself to Running Man. And that was the first time in my entire life that I ever considered the option that maybe I also could stream and be a streamer. I started to like build myself up enough to be like not too insecure to like put myself out there and be on camera and play video games. So I started thinking about it. Now I started thinking about it in 2014, and I didn't stream for the first time until 2016. So it took me almost 2 full years, more than 2 full years, to build up um, the nerve to actually go live on Twitch and broadcast myself. And I actually couldn't do that until I went to rehab in 2016 for alcohol. So that was basically like my lowest point. I feel like that was hopefully my lowest point ever. Um, I had fallen so deep into alcohol as a coping mechanism that I needed to go to rehab. And I went to rehab. And when I was in rehab and started to peel off the layers of my inner onion, they were like, find your purpose. Like, what do you do? Because I hated my job so much at that point. I was working as I was a pricing administrator, pricing analyst for a wholesale produce company. And I worked in a cubicle, and it was business casual. So I was wearing like the collared shirt with the sweater over it and the slacks, and my life was just meaningless. And I sat in a cubicle and stared at a monitor and typed and just thought about, different ways that I could blink myself out of this timeline. It was just such a bad time for me. I was drinking in the parking lot in the mornings before work, going off there was a brewery across the street from where I worked. I'd go over there and have lunch and drink like 8% alcohol beers to try and get myself through the afternoon. My wife at the time and I were completely disconnected. I would come home and drink after work, played Overwatch and drank and was sad. It was really dark timeline for me, dude. But it landed me in rehab and landed me with counselors that were professionals, and it landed me in realizing that the greatest source of my sadness and unhappiness and discontent was that I had no purpose in life. I was just my wife and I did not have a good relationship. We did not we loved each other, but we were not in love with each other, and we were not healthy. I had a couple of kids that I was doing a very poor job of setting an example for and being a father to, which is one of probably my greatest regrets in the world, is that I didn't figure my shit out until a long time through my kids' like childhood. So I mean, we did good. We did okay. They're not messed up. We have a great relationship now, but I was definitely a very disconnected, non-present dad at that point. But in rehab, I got in with counselors that were professionals. They were very good at what they did and made some great friends in there. And in there, like I was in prison, what the fuck? But yeah, I was in there. But yeah, they uncovered the fact that like my dream was always to work in the gaming industry. And I had for my entire life. I mean, I kind of glossed over this, but my entire life, I always talked about wanting to work in the gaming industry, finding a way in. I thought about working for GameStop. I thought about, because I always went, I'm not going to ever be a game designer or coder. It's not my brain, but maybe I could work in like retail, or maybe I could work in administration. I applied and interviewed at Bungie at one point after I got out of the Navy to work as a community manager there. I interviewed for a community manager position. I interviewed for for an administrative type position where I'd be working in like payroll and accounting at these gaming industry or these gaming jobs. I live in Seattle or around the Seattle area. There's tons of gaming jobs out here. So I dabbled a little bit in trying to get jobs at gaming companies, like in more of an administrative role, but I could never find where I would fit in gaming. And that was where Twitch came in, right? That was when I was like 2014. I started thinking like, well, what if I just play video games and talk about butt cheeks, right? Would that work? But it took me over 2 years to get up the gumption to do it. And then finally, again, like at rehab, I was in, we do our individual counseling, and like the girl that was my counselor, she asked me like, if you could do one thing, if you could have like one job, what would it be? And I was like, I want to be a Twitch streamer. Like that would be so cool to just, because again, I want you to know that back then I had a fractured view of what Twitch streaming looked like though. And she's like, what would you want to be? I was like, I want to just play video games all day and get paid money for it. That sounds awesome. And she's like, well, go do that. Why don't you go do that? Why would you not? I'm like, oh, wife and kids and bills. She's like, yeah, so does literally everybody who's ever done it. Like, find a way to do it, figure it out, do it for a while part-time. And then if you like it, go in full swing. And she just pushed me over the edge to like try it. So out of rehab in 2016, fresh on that pink cloud, feeling amazing. I'm like, let's do it. Let's go be a Twitch streamer. So I fired off a stream for the first time. That would be, I believe, September 2016. Was my first ever stream. I can look it up real quick.
What was the game?
It was Heroes of the Storm. Heroes of the Storm. I was always a huge Blizzard fan growing up. I mean, Diablo 2 was the first game. I think Diablo 2 was probably the first game I played at an unhealthy level. And if you know me, I play every game that I play at an unhealthy level at this point. But yeah, Diablo 2 would have been the first game that I played like way too much. So I'm sure I had thousands and thousands and thousands of hours. And actually, the first game that I ever went live on, this is going to be when I'm the most famous person in the world, when I'm the literal most popular streamer on Twitch, people will find out that the first game I ever went live on was actually Overwatch. Friday, September 23rd, 2016, I went live on Overwatch.
Damn. So you're coming up on your 4 year? Or
yeah, yeah. September is going to be my 5-year anniversary of streaming. But yeah, I went live on Twitch, and so I did 3 Overwatch streams all on the same day. It looks like. Well, I mean, I think those were like test streams. It looks like, because I had 0 hours, 0 hours, 0 hours, 15 minutes. I streamed for 15 minutes on Friday the 23rd. I streamed Overwatch, and my first like dead ass stream was that Saturday the 24th. I streamed Heroes of the Storm for 3 hours and 45 minutes. And then boom, this is kind of a flex because my next stream on the 26th, I streamed 8 hours. What a badass, dude. Just kicking it up with a full 8-hour day. Look at little Runningman out there. 8 hours of Heroes of the Storm to 3 viewers. Let's go. I want to tell you a little secret about those 3 viewers, Queso. 2 of them were my cell phone and my Xbox that I had logged into alt accounts to boost my viewer count up so I could have a little bit more than 1 or 0 viewers. So I was already scheming back then.
Well, I mean, honestly, there's a lot of things, a lot of people that tell you whenever you start streaming that you should do that just so you can get affiliate and start getting monetized.
What was affiliate? Didn't exist in 2016, homie.
Affiliate, that was now.
Yeah, right. I'm just saying, affiliate, that wasn't even a thing, dude. And now you got to imagine me, like fresh out of rehab, recovering alcoholic, like my world around me months prior was all in shambles and burning ashes, and there was a guy on fire and a dude on a horse, and I stabbed a guy with a trident. There's shit was happening back then, right? And I'm gonna look at my ex-wife and dead ass tell her like, thank you. Tell my ex-wife then at that time, I'm gonna quit my job that is in the upper middle class. It was a very well-paying, good job, full benefits, full everything. I was like, I'm gonna quit my job and I'm gonna go play video games on the internet. And as long as I can build myself up to about 150 to 300 average viewers, I can start making money. And she looks at me and says, you're going to what now? But that's what I did. I left my job and I decided to stream full time. I went in, and I don't know if you've ever seen any of the clips. I have a couple clips still from the Friday or from the Heroes days of my setup and my streaming ability, but I was not good at it. I was very bad at it. So yeah, this was definitely a growing pains era of the stream. I was not a very good streamer. I had an up nose camera. My camera was like on the desk looking up at me. So like I was like, you got like an up nostril shot. And then I literally, I can't even, there's no way for me to properly communicate just how poor I was. I got engagement and like what I was talking about. I just wasn't entertaining. I literally was a slack jawed, bad Heroes player saying nothing of value, I wasn't funny. I wasn't interesting. I just sat and played games. And I'm like, where are all the viewers, man? Like, where's my money? You know, this is bullshit. I'm playing the games on the internet. Where's my money? Right. So that was the first leg. Do you want me to keep going or do you want to ask more questions? Because I'm just talking and I don't know.
I mean, honestly, I'm fine with whatever. This is your show. You know, you're telling everybody what, you know, they would want to know about you.
Okay.
And
So
I love your tangents, and I love you just talking about, you know, what you've been through and everything. You know, that's kind
okay.
of
Well,
what we
because
started doing this.
I feel like we're on that journey of like where the stream happens. So I feel like I can just give you the whole Toledo here, the whole tamale, whole taco. I don't know. There's a phrase that I think it is, and I just made a fake one up and I'm running with it. So the whole Toledo, you can keep that one if you want, okay? So that can be a gift from the podcast.
I think I'll write that down.
Yeah, write it down. Put it in your notepad. Yeah. So I streamed Heroes of the Storm for roughly 6 months. And during that time, I did, in fact, stream Dead by Daylight at one point. I did. I went from Heroes of the Storm was in September, and then in October, because at that point I did play a little DBD. So I did most of October. On the 31st, Halloween, October 31st, 2016, was my first Dead by Daylight stream. That stream was 1 hour long. And do you want to know why that stream was 1 hour long? Or you want to hear the story?
I'm ready.
So I get in there. I'm a killer main, right? I'm a killer main. So I get in there and I play my first game of the day, Poggers. It's little Running Man's playing DBD in October 2016. I'm playing Michael Myers. My plan was to play Michael Myers all day because it's Halloween. And within the first 20 or 30 minutes, I get into a match with a Claudette who's running an Infinite. And I was being run in an Infinite so hard. There was no bloodlust back then. There was like dead ass infinites in the game. Like you could just run in a circle forever. And I somehow, she was bad because I somehow managed to catch her. And as I was catching her, I got pallet stunned carrying her to the hook. And I literally turned my PC off. Like in the middle of a stream, I reached down and pressed the power button on my, threw the headphones down, got up and left. And I'm like, I fucking hate DBD. I'm never playing it again. So Monday, October 30. Go ahead. What?
I was gonna say you need to tell little Running Man he's wrong.
It's true. Yeah, he had no idea back then what a profound impact on my life DBD was going to take. So, and I calmed down. I think I calmed down and came back and streamed Heroes after that. Like I don't really remember. Like it's all blur, but I do see that 2 games were streamed that day, so that must have been it. But I remember, I'll never forget the feeling I had chasing that Claudette in a circle, and I can't catch her. And again, I'm streaming, and I'm probably just, I don't think I said many words. It's probably just slack jawed. And I don't even think I said anything. I just turned the computer off. I'm like, I'm fucking done. But yeah, so then a couple more months there, I streamed Heroes of the Storm, and I dabbled again a few times in DBD. I did some H1Z1, and I did some other stuff. And so by like January, I think January 2017 is when I quit. I feel like so January I streamed DBD, I streamed Depth, I streamed Town of Salem. I was just trying to find myself, dude. I was streaming all kinds of weird games and just feeling really bad about how bad I was at it. I just wasn't a very good streamer, and that's because like I just didn't really get it yet. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have anybody to teach me and guide me. And I was just, again, and at this time I'm still super like insecure, super anxious a lot. I didn't like using my face cam very much because I didn't want to be judged. If somebody came in and told me that I was fat or ugly, I would have probably like cried about it after the stream, like actual human tears, cried about it. I was super fragile. I was a fragile human. Okay. So like I had just gotten out of rehab. My marriage was falling apart. Around February 2017 is when the divorce proceedings started happening. My wife left me. She was seeing other people and in that time. And that was like a real hard hit for me to take. And so what I did is I left Washington and went back to Alaska and lived with my parents for a few months to kind of get myself figured out and recalibrated. Like I was going through a divorce. My world was ending. I quit streaming and I moved to Alaska and I worked for my dad. I got my health in order. And And then that was again when I started like getting hard into Twitch as a viewer, and Twitch as a and World of Warcraft was like my new thing. I kind of moved away from Heroes and DBD at that point. I always played Heroes and DBD. I play with friends, but like WoW kind of took over back as my primary game. That was the Mists of Pandaria time frame, and that was when Mists was like really fun to play, and I like to do arenas. And I took like 6 months off from streaming, and then Friday the 13th, the game came out there in 2017, and that was my next. That was where the Running Man you know now today, and you know and love, and you know want to use your Twitch Prime sub on. That was where he was born. So remember, I streamed pretty hardcore for a few months there with Heroes and DBD and some other random stuff, and I always just kind of consider myself a failure. And I quit streaming and just said, streaming's not for me. I obviously suck at it. I'll just be a Twitch viewer. That's fine. But then Friday the 13th came out, and I started gaming hard on that game. And that was like July 2017, right? And I started to play with a group of friends who all thought that I was pretty neat and funny. And they all liked Twitch. And they're like, why don't you stream this game? I'm like, I tried streaming and I was bad at it. I sucked. I'm like, why don't you try again? Why not? Why not try it again? They're like, we all like hanging out with you. We all like listening to you. I'd like to be able to see your perspective. Let's do it. So I started streaming Friday. And those people that I played with, they all lurked in the stream. Right. So pretty early, I had a decent chunk of human beings that were just going to show up and be like hyped about me. And also, if you've played Friday the 13th, that game like really matches my content style. Like it's very much like a meme game. Like you play with other people, making jokes, getting on the microphone and talking shit, getting on the microphone and boosting people up. Like it made for really good content. And I kind of caught fire a little bit. I kind of found my voice as a streamer. I figured myself out. The BFC was invented in Friday the 13th. To this day, if no one's told you I love you today, I love each and every one of you. It was a thing I started saying when I was streaming Friday the 13th 4 years ago. Like the BFC, but my subs were turned into the Best Friends Club 4 years ago. That was the game where all this stuff was born. And then I started to click as a streamer, and then I started to really find my passion. And I started to get a little bit of a community built up. I mean, by the time I stopped streaming Friday, I was anywhere between like 30 and 50 average viewers. I was typically, because there was a dying and dead game, I was typically at the very top of the directory. And that was again, so I've kind of left some details out, but obviously when I quit streaming the first time, I had to get a real job again, right? I had to go get a job. And so I was working for my dad. And then when I came back, he landed me a job as a grocery manager in a place called Snoqualmie, at a very bougie, high class grocery store in a rich area of Washington. And so I was a night manager there, working 2:30 to 10:30 p.m. And my schedule was I would go in and work at the grocery store for 8 hours. I'd go home and then I'd fire off the stream and stream for like 4 to 6 hours after work. So I was an overnight guy. So, I was like, okay, so I streamed at night. Or don't you stream at night? Or no, you're back on a work schedule at night, right?
Yeah, I work midnights.
Right.
Most of the time.
So I connected your work with your stream and then just made a boo-boo there, but you get it. My brain goes pretty fast. So
I work what's called vacation coverage, so my schedule changes every week, just about.
Gross.
So I'll go from day shift to midnights, It makes for some very droopy eyes, but that's okay.
I can imagine, but it's good. Your indomitable spirit powers you through, right? So
that's right. A lot of nostalgia music, that keeps me awake, and everything else. It's very good stuff.
Got it. Yeah. So I worked overnights, or I worked up till 10:30 p.m. and then I streamed overnights. And then, so I was clicking on that really well. And again, like it was going well. And I hated my regular job. I hated the grocery job. I hated having to go be somebody's employee. I hated having to answer to people that were just frankly not that great at what they did. Like, I don't know, it sounds arrogant or sounds, what's the word for it? But I don't care. Like these guys, they managed this place. Like they were really poor at it and they were bad at their jobs and they were super ass. But I got lucky because I got hired to take over for the other night manager, evening manager guy, because he got into some legal trouble. And so there's a transition period where he trained me and then a transition period where he and I were like sharing the job. And then he got out of legal trouble. And they were like, okay, well, this guy's actually not going to be leaving. So thank you for your service, I guess. And they fired me and let me go. I got laid off. And I'm like, okay, so, but this is where like old Running Man and new Running Man like kind of hit that like fork in the road, and I took the turn into like a more healthy and better version of me. I was like, yo, this is like the universe telling me that I have an opportunity to go do what I actually care about. I hated that job, and I was upset that I lost it, because at this point I'm still like, this is like early mid-July, or this is like July, August timeframe. I'm still at this point like fighting for my marriage. And so I'm like, well, I need this job. I need to make money. I need to like be a useful human being to like win my ex-wife back. But then I was like also realizing that this does not make me even remotely happy. So I was like, you know what? Fudge it, man. I'll just go stream full time. And so that was when I decided to gamble on myself yet again. And so late July 2017, I got laid off, and I just said, I'm a full-time streamer now. Content is my full-time gig. And I just started doing that. So that was where it happened. And then Friday the 13th was dying off. So I did Friday from like July, August, September, October. I think around December timeframe is when I realized that like I wasn't getting any bigger playing Friday the 13th, and I needed to make a move. So yeah, that was at that point. I think there was a little transition period in there where I played a lot of variety. But looking at December, it was like mostly Friday the 13th. And then around January 2018 is when I started playing a lot of variety. I was doing like SOS, and I did some Fortnite for whatever reason. That was when I started experimenting with characters, like being a character on stream, which is kind of weird when you think about it, because I had like already built up a community of people that just liked me for me, you know? And then I'm like, okay, but now I'm going to be this different person. They were like, that's weird. So like my regulars didn't want me to be a different person, and new people were like, well, this is forced and cringe. So it didn't really work out for me. But like March, April, I always tell people that March was when I went full-time DVD, but I'm looking at April 2018. And I streamed a lot of Maelstrom back then. So maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was May. Yeah. May 2018, I did a little Fortnite, and then it was just like DVD. And then I think June is when I was like full no life DVD. So June 2018 is the time that full-time DVD became a thing. So, and then from then on, like now I'm the person, like I played DVD, and I've now streamed the game for over 6,500 hours, mostly killer, lots of requests, lots of memes. That's where we're at now.
Which I love the community, like we've talked about that earlier. You've got some fantastic people in your community. Literally, you jump in, you say hi, and you just have a bunch of people like washing you with hellos and love. And, you love to see that. And you could literally play anything. You played Diddy Kong one time. I was in there, and then everybody popped in and just to say hi. And the Uda Unda meme started. And, I mean, it's just great. It's good stuff.
If you don't love me at my Uda, you don't deserve me at my Unda, queso. All right. That's true. And the thing is, like, if I wasn't, I feel like I'm very fortunate. I'm very blessed, if you will. I do feel like we do well on variety. Like I can pretty much play whatever. And, I think most streamers, when they go from their main game to variety, tend to lose 50, 60, 70% of their viewers. Like, it's just the way it works. Like, and I feel like I lose anywhere from like 60 to 80. I hold like anywhere from 60 to 80. Like I lose maybe 20 or 30%. We hold well in variety. If I do horror variety, I will hold. I don't even lose anybody, or sometimes it goes up. The other day, I swapped to Home Sweet Home the other day, and we like blew up a little bit. We were up in the mid 200s or something. I'm like, what is this, dude? People really like this game, or maybe people are just checking it out. I'm very privileged at this point to have built a community to the size that like we end up staying somewhat up in the directory. So I get a lot of passive clicks. I use clickbait as a weapon in my title. This. I use clickbait a lot to get people in the channel. Oh, yeah. And the thing is, once you get people in, not only am I super engaging, but like you've already mentioned, my community shout out to the BFC, shout out to my regulars, the people that hang out in the community, because the community I wouldn't be where I'm at now if I didn't have the community being so like supportive and loving. Like you said, like somebody comes in and says some stuff, like this community like wraps them up like a little warm blanket and just loves them and like shows them so much positive attention. And like, because we want to build, we want to grow, we want to be able to, I recently was listening to a podcast, and it was about and I won't go into the details. It was completely outside of the realm of gaming and Twitch. It was definitely a group, like a dietary health related podcast, but the guy was talking about how he runs a business, and he's like, he's like his ultimate goal is like something like the Hippocratic Oath, like it's just helping people and being a positive force and making people's lives better. And so like he never set out. He was an orthopedic surgeon who quit his job to be a full-time like coach and lifestyle coach and public speak. He goes and he does like he educates people on different health practices and whatnot. And he's like, I made a lot of money and I had a lot of success as an orthopedic surgeon, but like more than I make now, but like I can actually like spread my, my influence and like actually make people's lives better. Like he can influence more people as an orthopedic surgeon. There's only so many blocks in the day where he can do surgery and make people healthier. But like if he is out, doing podcasts and doing workshops and writing books and being engaged with a whole community of people that are, following his lifestyle, he can actually make way more lives different. And that's like, I've been thinking for a long time about like making like something of a mission statement, because I feel the exact same way. Like for me, growth on Twitch and growth as a brand has way less to do with trying to become like the next big Twitch superstar and way more with like, if my influence spreads, so does my work, my good deeds, right? Like helping people, building people up, building people's confidence, teaching people that they can be happy with who they are. I don't want anyone in the world to feel the way that I felt before I started streaming, like to feel so down that that feel like they're so worthless and so garbage that they're literally drinking Miller Genuine Draft out of a Nalgene bottle in the parking lot before they go into work because they feel so worthless, right? Like I don't want anyone to ever feel that way. And so if I have a place on the internet where you can come with like-minded folks and hang out, talk gaming, talk anything, the Discord, you've been in my Discord, like our Discord pops, dude. Like there's just constantly stuff going on in there. It's just, I don't know, man. It's just really cool, man. It's just, I want to be able to spread that influence and give people a home on Twitch. Like, and it's cliche. Everybody says it. Like, oh, there's nobody on Twitch that's like, I kind of want my stream to be a bunch of elitists that don't care about anybody. Nobody says that, but like, but like we're doing it though. Like, it's not about talking about it. It's about being about it. And so if somebody joins the BFC, somebody comes into the stream, they realize right away that it's like, it's not the same as most streams. Like there's an instant connection there. Like I am very engaged and interested in new people. The BFC is very engaged and interested in new people. And again, the BFC does the lion's share of the work with that, because not only am I playing games and trying to make, be funny, like they get the chat gives them the full focus, because basically chat's not paying any attention to me anyways, right? They're just talking to each other in chat. So it's good stuff.
Sometimes, yeah. Which, speaking of that, right now we can take some questions from the community if anybody has anything they'd like to ask RM.
What?
I've got one right now. What do you look for in a moderator?
What do I look for in a moderator? I don't know. I'm going to be honest with you and tell you that moderating is a weird thing, because it's a lot like my VIP system. I don't really have a system so much. I just like, most of my moderators were only around for like 3 months before they became mods. Tix was almost brand new when she became a mod. Rue was almost brand new when she became a mod. Army was almost brand new when he became a mod. Like, it's like, I have this weird way of just identifying, and I actually have like, I'm not going to say who they are, but I have a depth chart in my brain of like potential mods if we ever really needed a mod, because like I can identify right away people that just like absolutely 100% connect with the BFC's like mission statement and style guide. And just like, I look for, obviously people need to be available and they need to match, like, basically I want people that I don't have to worry about the decisions they make, because that's the decision I would have made in most cases. So, I mean, that's really it. It's about availability, and it's about having the right mindset to moderate. I don't have a lot of mods, that, like, and that's the thing too. I see a lot of, and again, I don't like to be that guy who like constantly like wants to give advice or be like, because I've been there, but like, I would tell anybody who's a small streamer, don't mod a ton of people. You don't need a lot of mods. Like if your average is, I average like 120 to 150, 120 to 150 viewers right now. And I really have like 3 super active mods. And then again, I have more mods than that, but like the ones that are hardcore active constantly, I really only have like, let me see, like, yeah, basically I literally have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 active mods, 6 total mods right now. I have Best Professional, who's going to be a mod forever because he's like the guy that built my channel with me. but he doesn't mod at all. I have 6 mods right now. One who's like very inactive, a couple who are pretty active, and then a couple who are like literally always in the stream. So, but like you don't need to have a ton of moderators. And again, the more voices and the more minds you have in moderation, like the more complicated it gets. So I always like push for simplicity. Like if you're a smaller streamer, you really only need like 1 to 2 solid mods. Like again, I really only have like 3 hella active mods, 4 hella active mods, right? So yeah, I look for people that I can trust to make decisions. They operate independent. They make their decisions. Like they don't need to DM me to ask permission to time someone out or to ban someone or to, do whatever. Like they make their calls and then I'm going to back them up. And then if I disagree with it, we'll have a conversation later and we'll be like, that'll be like a teaching moment of like, hey, maybe in the future. And we've actually literally just had that recently. Like we've had a teaching moment where I'm like, yo, these are things that I'm seeing happen that really maybe shouldn't be. I'm not upset about it, but here's how we're going to do it going forward. And I trust them and respect them so much. Like, and I think that any of my moderators would tell you that. Like, I hear horror stories all the time of streamers that super micromanage their mods. They constantly will like, someone will time someone out and then the streamer will untime them out and be like, yo, let's not do that. Like publicly be like, no. And like, that just really builds a lot of like lack of faith, lack of trust. And I don't have that at all. Like, and it's organic. Again, like I urge everybody, just be natural. Let your stream be natural. Like be real and be honest. Like you don't have to hide things from people. Like, and just, I don't know, like it's just like kind of weird. Like you just run it, man. Like be natural. Like this is how I want things to be. Decide how you want things to be and be consistent with that. And then like your moderators they will, if they want to mod for you, if they love you, they love your content, they love your community, they believe in what you're building and they want to work for you. Like they're going to buy into what you're saying. Just talk to them, respect them on the same level. Like, cause they need that. Moderators need to be respected and trusted. If they're making mistakes constantly that you're having to undo, maybe they shouldn't be your mod anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I've literally never had that problem. I've never felt the need to remove a moderator due to poor performance or due to not lining up with like the moderators that have left have kind of moved on because life is complicated. Time changes things and not every moderator is going to be in your channel 8 hours a day, 5 days a week for the rest of their lives, right? Different things are going to happen for them. And so I've had a lot of moderators come and go, but I don't think I've ever had a moderator leave under distress. And I don't think that I've never had to remove a moderator due to poor performance. It's always been like life changed and they had to go their separate ways.
You said your VIP system's similar?
My VIP system is a fucking soup sandwich, man. I don't know. I just have I just grab people. I'm like, you know what? Fuck, I'm very impulsive. And, so I've got people that are VIPs for an assortment of reasons and I'll never reveal my formula. People get picked as VIP because they're VIPs. They're important. That doesn't mean everybody's not important. It's hard for me because me, I'd like to just give everybody VIP. You're all very important people, but that's not how the world works. And so it's just one of those things. Like I just make VIPs and after a while I get bored and I'm like, I'm gonna make a new VIP today. Or, somebody does something that ignites my spirit. And I'm like, you know what? You're a VIP now. So yeah, there is no like checklist for how to become a VIP. It's just like a super organic, super impulsive thing that just happens.
Do we have any questions from the community? Everybody's kind of quiet right now. I think they're just enjoying your tangents.
There may be that, and maybe the fact that like I'm kind of an open book on stream, and I talk like you guys. If you're watching the podcast, like all I do is just talk, and like I don't have a filter. It's funny. People use the phrase "I don't have a filter" to excuse themselves from saying dog shit things and being an asshole, and like I say I don't have a filter. That's true too, but like I just go and talk, and like I don't hide things or keep people from. You know what I mean? Like I don't have a filter. Like I'll just tell you about things. Like my life is pretty much an open book. Like I sometimes overshare. Like I have to be more conscious. And that's something that, Jennifer, my girlfriend and I, she's pretty active in the stream, not so much lately because she's working so much, but like she's always been, since we've been together, like been active in the community in the stream. And like, to the point that I almost like feel almost disrespectful to her because I share too much and I don't want her to like, her life doesn't necessarily need to be on display, the same way mine is, but I just don't mind sharing with people. I mean, my community is my family. And, I kind of treat the Twitch community a lot like I treat my community back home in Alaska. Like this is my family. These are my people. Why would I hide things from them? Why would I not tell them what's going on in my life? Like they're a part of my life, like legitimately, right? So if I'm going to dinner at the old spaghetti factory and bringing the kids, I'm gonna tell you guys about it. You know, it's just the way it works. Like you guys are my family, you guys are my friends, you guys are my network. This is the ecosystem that I live in. Like I don't know the names of a single one of my neighbors in my apartment complex. You know, I would not want to tell my neighbors where I'm going to dinner later, right? I don't have any, like, I have no connection with them. My community, like, there's not much I don't want to tell my community about, right? Like, I just want to share everything.
We got Sin City Boss that asks, what made you fall in love with DVD and what made you leave F13?
Okay, so what made me fall in love with DVD? I didn't fall in love with DVD at first. Would be how I'd answer that. I fell in love with Friday the 13th. I'm a horror junkie. Like I've always loved horror movies. I've always loved horror everything. There weren't a lot of horror games in the classic gaming days. The horror games that existed were kind of garbage. The old Friday the 13th Nintendo game was pretty bad. And so, but yeah, I've always, and then like I was a huge, like you ever heard of the Seventh Guest?
No.
Or Mist? Those were like the early stages of like horror games, like psychological horror games and point and click. But I've always loved horror. And so when Friday the 13th, the game came out, that was like an instant day one. Like I'm going to play this game because I'm a huge horror junkie. And Friday the 13th, like what, a game where I can play as Jason? Hell yeah, let's do this. So I fell in love with Friday the 13th, which made me fall in love with the ASIM style killer versus survivor sort of thing. So I wanted to love DVD, but when I first started playing it, I didn't really like connect with it that much. Like when in the 2016, the game was very hard to play as killer. And Survivor, I played with a group of friends who were at that time not very nice people. We would go into play Survivor Friends with randoms, and then they would just like shit on the randoms all day, but they were like really bad at the game. But they were like doing that whole, God, if a random would have just been better, like, and they just like shit on them and they like talk shit to him post game, and like it felt gross. I was like, I don't like this. Like, you guys are mean. Like, and I don't really game with those people. Those people don't really come around anymore because like they were pretty toxic humans, but they were literally like dog shit at the game and then blamed the randoms constantly. We would play for like hours at a stretch. I remember calling them out. I was like, bro, like we've been playing the game for 4 hours now. You haven't escaped once, and you've blamed a person on our team, a random, every single game for your death. Like, I was like, it's impossible that you've just been like getting sandbagged for 4 hours straight. Like, start taking some ownership of like, maybe just start chilling out. So I kind of moved away. Basically, like, but back then I wasn't assertive as assertive as I am now, and I wasn't as confident as I am now. So rather than like just tell them I don't want to game with you guys anymore, I switched to killer to avoid the problem. I'm like, yeah, well, I play killer now, so I can't play with friends. Right. So I actually became a killer man because I was insecure about like I was averse to conflict. And so my group of friends that like to play, I had an excuse now for not playing with them. Nowadays, I think you know me now. I just be like, go fuck yourself, dude. I don't want to play with you anymore. You're ass. Like, I don't want to be your friend. You're mean. You're mean to random humans. Like, that's not me. But then back then, you know, I was still so insecure and had like such a lack of confidence. Like, I was literally worried that I like wouldn't be able to make new friends if I lost these friends, right? And so those were toxic people that I moved away from. And so, so why I left Friday the 13th is basically I saw the writing on the wall when they announced that there would be. I actually quit Friday the 13th before they announced that they were no longer developing for Friday the 13th because there was such a gap in content, and I was so bad then. I mean, I had hours and hours, and I was like, they're not releasing new content, and I want to stream full time. Like, I don't think this game's got a future. Was basically the short and skinny of it. I was like, and then I left Friday the 13th. I told Dan, I was friends with Dan in a hurry back then. I told Dan, I'm like, dude, I'm going to DVD. This is bullshit. Like, they're not making new content. The game is boring. The content is stale. And then within a month of leaving, they announced that they were going to have no more updates. So that was that. I took off. So.
Well, we got Avenger Unknown asking, if there was one horror game that you could experience again for the first time, which one would it be?
God, easy answer to that is just DVD. I would love to go back to, but do I get to be me again? Can I be me now? Can I like have my personality and my level of like confidence? Like if I could go back, because when I started playing DVD, I had like huge ladder anxiety. Like I was scared to queue up. Like I was afraid to queue up. I was afraid of what the pixels were going to do to my pixels, right? Like it was so weird. But like nowadays, I'm not scared of anything, right? So like if I could go back to DVD clean my slate in my mind and never have played it again and play it for the first time, I would do that. I mean, I know it's a cliche answer, but like you guys see me still have passion for the game 8,000 plus hours later. Now to go back and be scared again, to be nervous again, to be hiding in the basement, literally shaking like, oh God, there's a heartbeat. He's coming. Like, yeah, I want that back, dude. Cause now, I mean, playing a game of DVD to me is like playing a game of Madden. It's just a game, you know, it's just I mean, I love it. I'm still passionate about it, but I don't feel fear. I don't feel anxiety. And I click my flashlight and I press control and I run in circles, or I play killer and I just look at chat and cruise control the killer match, right?
Yeah, yeah. Which I think we all were scared in the beginning, and I remember one time I almost threw my controller through my television. I was playing against BK Myers at the game, and he dropped down and yeeted me off of a generator, and I
Mm,
literally like screamed. And that was probably one of the only times that I've actually almost broke something playing DVD.
I feel it, man. I feel that. That's the only way nowadays. That's like the only way nowadays we can really get that jump scare, right? Is with the no tear radius, all the stealth killers and whatnot.
What drove you to want to evolve into shoutcasting?
Okay,
Says that one
so
guy, Dave.
that one guy, Duke. Yeah, so obviously like streaming is what I do as a career. Content creation is my full-time job. But I'm always thinking bigger and different. And it's not about, I think that streaming is going to be a thing forever. I don't think streaming is going anywhere. I think I have a long and healthy career lined up for me in streaming, but I want more and I want different. And I want to make sure that I protect myself because the future of gaming is always so volatile. DMCA showed us that music is now no longer a thing. Is there a future where game developers start charging people for streaming their games? Maybe. Is there a future where games, like a horror game comes out and they're so protective of the license that they DMCA strike anybody who dares try to stream it? Maybe. I just feel like there are different barriers to success and growth. And so I want to diversify. Also, I'm not getting any younger. I'm 37 years old now. And is a 40-year-old, is a 45-year-old, is a 50-year-old going to be a viable gaming streamer moving forward? Maybe, maybe not. But I want to work into other avenues of content and the gaming industry. And I think that esports is an emerging market that's going to absolutely have a volcanic eruption sometime in the next 5 to 10 years. And so if I can get myself in the early days of competitive esports and really make a name for myself as a shoutcaster, that protects my future. Maybe there's a future where I've got carpal tunnel and I can't really stream very much anymore. And I want to be able to still be involved. And that's where shoutcasting and hosting tournaments comes in. I just want to keep myself protected. I don't want to, I work for myself and I am fully self-sufficient. I don't have a boss. I run a business, quote unquote. I'm a streamer, right? This may not be here forever, so I need to protect myself. I don't want to be that guy who 5, 6 years down the road loses a hand in a horrible wood chipping accident or develops some sort of like autoimmune disorder that has me super inflamed and I can't use my hands very well. And now what am I doing? Now am I what does my life look like now? I need to keep myself invested. Now do I like to talk? I feel like anybody who's been watching this podcast thinks yes, I like to talk. Do I love video games? Hell yeah, I do. Do I love competition? Hell yeah, I do. Shoutcasting was a natural evolution, and that's why I'm doing that.
All right. Looks like we don't have any more questions, but I do want to say it's been a pleasure. And can you give some tips out to some new people that are maybe wanting to stream or maybe people that already stream?
Oh, I mean, that's like literally all I do is just give people advice. Like I love to mentor people. I mean, there are people in this chat that I can identify as people that I've mentored. There are people again, like it's kind of like that AA, and I'm not an AA person, like Alcoholics Anonymous. I have been involved in it. It's not something that I do regularly anymore, but it's the whole idea of like paying it forward and like helping people out who are where you're at, like getting somebody, like there's something inherently rewarding about helping people. And we as an evolved animal, it's like there's some sort of like natural desire in lots of people to just like help and be somebody's like be support people. Like, and I don't expect anything out of that. I have mentor people that have literally never been in my stream before. I've never talked in my stream. It's not about trying to, I see a lot of people when they're getting started, they do a lot of this fake, inorganic, like networking, so to speak. And it all comes down to like some sort of evolved version of follow for follow, like engagement for engagement, right? Um, that's never been me. I've always loved to like actually help people and actually support people. And again, I think there's a lot of people would attest to the fact they don't spend a lot of time in the chat, and I still invest a lot of my time in helping them out, because not because I want to build my numbers. Oh, get another extra viewer, get another extra sub. I just want to like actually help people. I just want people to have fun and like grow. And I love seeing people succeed. Like it gasses me. I can't picture being like jealous or envious or like negative about my friends being successful. Like that just doesn't even compute in my head. Like, so if you want advice, like my DMs are open, you know, and I have a limited amount of time, and I'll try and make it for you. But yeah, my biggest piece of advice is to just continue to like never stop trying to be better, because no matter how good you get, you can always get better. And no matter how tight your ship gets, you can always make it a little bit better. So just if you're thinking about streaming and you're scared, just do it. Stream now. Stream tomorrow. Is your stream going to be dog shit? Probably. Are you going to be ass at it? Almost certainly. But do it. Try it. Get better at it. And then once you can't build on something, you can't improve on something you haven't done, right? I can't get better at hang gliding. I've never hang glided before. I don't know what I'm doing. So the only way for me to become a world-class hang glider is to get out and hang glide. And then maybe I don't have enough money for fancy equipment, or, you know, I don't know. Hang gliding is probably a bad analogy, because you probably want to make sure you buy a good hang glider, right? But like maybe like skateboarding is a better analogy. Like if I want to skateboard, you don't need to have like $1 billion skateboard and like personalized lessons from Tony Hawk, right? Buy a fucking skateboard from your local, you know, pawn shop and get out and start trying to learn how to do an ollie. Start small, practice. And then when you start to identify your limitations, build on those. That's my biggest piece of advice. Just do it, man. Don't worry so much. Just do it. You'll learn what you need to get better at. And if you don't learn what you need to get better at, find somebody that knows that's better than you at it to watch you and tell you what you're doing bad.
I like that, dude. That's good stuff. This has been a phenomenal podcast. I mean, it's been pretty much you just running rampant the entire time, and everybody's here for it. Everybody in chat has loved it. I've loved it. It's been phenomenal. And
Nice. I had
also,
a good time.
I didn't tell you. Thank you for your service. I did not know you were in the military, and thank you for doing that. That's
Absolutely.
good stuff.
My pleasure.
Well, brother, it's been a delight. I can't wait to catch your next stream. I hope your subathon goes great. Which congratulations on the world record, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
the
weird.
twins.
I'm a world record twin speed runner, and like when I was a kid, I always dreamed about setting a world record in gaming. So that was a pretty big. Like, wow, I actually did it. So weird, champ.
Yeah, that's good stuff, dude. Well, I love you, man. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your
Man.
day. Good luck at your shoutcasting and all that. And I hope you have a badass weekend, dude.
Yo, I love you too. Thank you for having me on, guys. And if you're not familiar with the best case, so quality dude, salt of the earth kind of man. Looking forward to eventually lovingly embracing him at a convention or something like that. And just squeeze. You know that when you hug someone and you put your hands on their back and then you just like you squeeze, like that's happening. But I'm just letting you know. Just a
And then
warning.
you follow it up with like the little tap before you break loose.
With permission that I would like for that to happen soon.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, I hope you have a fantastic day, dude. Love the shit out of you. Everybody that's watching, if you could hear my voice, check out Runningman and check out his YouTube. I hope you guys have a good time while you're over there. If you didn't like Runningman before, which you obviously did, you'll like him even more now for sure. All right, brother, I'll send you off. I hope you have a good day.
All right, peace out, man.
Anyway, guys, that was Runningman. Make sure to check that guy out. Give him some love. Next week, we do have some other guests coming on. We have Soul Fury coming on Friday. Then we have that one guy D on Saturday. And Soul Fury is going to be at 1 p.m. CST. And then we have that one guy D that's going to be Saturday, 10 p.m. Or no, 10 a.m. Sorry. I'm all over the place right now. I don't know why. But I hope you guys had a fantastic time in the stream.